$1.99 to the pound, 20.08 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.64 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got a major accident seen on the R24 West before the Edenville Road exit. It's causing heavy traffic volumes while traveling in Edenville. Another accident seen on the N12 West right near the R24 merge, causing delays.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Day 13 of Parliament's ad hoc committee hearings into police corruption continue today with Deputy Police Minister Clement Manyathela on the hot seat.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, happy... What day is it today? Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show on this beautiful Tuesday morning, the 28th day of October. Can you believe we're almost at the end of the year? Wasn't it March just the other day? Time really flies, eh? I hope you're well this morning. Thank you so much for being with us here on 702. Our show starts with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Did you see the Cameroonian president we spoke about a few weeks ago, Paul Biya, has now clinched his 8th term in office? He was campaigning at the time we spoke about him. He's the world's oldest head of state. He's 92 years old. The Constitutional Council has now announced in Cameroon that he has won an 8th term. Guys, this man first came into power in 1982. I wasn't even born at the time. And these results, him winning this time around, and I say winning in inverted commas, mean that he can now govern until 2023. So basically, he will rule Cameroon until he's 100 years old. What do you think about that? Lebomatosa would say, about what, Tembi? But what do you think about that? Because it's quite controversial. Opposition leaders think that something funny happened. Vote rigging of sorts. I mean, are you telling me that there are no competent people who can run the country, who are slightly younger than 92? And what has he done after having been in power for so long? He spends most of his time in Switzerland. He's running the country remotely, if at all. Europe is like his second home. So the issue of democracy is in serious question in Cameroon. And I wonder what you think about what's transpired now. And if there are any Cameroonians listening to us this morning, what have you experienced from this man's leadership? If you've lived in Cameroon and you've lived, of course, during the time, if you've lived after 1982, during the time when he's been in power. give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. The story of these alleged looters, Bohangwani Maumela, Boket Matlala, you name them, all these guys have been, Ket and Hangwani, for instance, have been accused of looting 2 billion rand from Tembisa. That's a lot of money, my friends. They have bought 53 million rand cars. Who buys a 53 million rand car? A 70 million rand house and other expensive assets. And the question that has been on my mind, in fact, over the last couple of weeks is, why haven't their transactions flagged? Because aren't they suspicious? What is the role of banks? Where are the banks and where have they been? The estate agents that are facilitating these transactions as they buy these houses, what due diligence are they doing? The lawyers. How do these proceeds of crime and fraud travel through our economy so legitimately until there's a big hoo-ha when journalists report and reveal the looting, the SIU steps in, and then the banks now what? They wake up to realize that there's been funny business throughout? And I wonder what measures you think can be taken to prevent criminals from using proceeds of crimes and participating in the formal economy. What do you think can be done? Because criminals are spending looted money so comfortably. And I really think that we're being failed here, sometimes by estate agents, by banks, by the lawyers. Where's the Financial Intelligence Center? You know, the FIC? And they probably will say, well, we'll rely on the banks to flag the transactions. Remember what happened with the Guptas? Remember what happened with Steinhoff? There are sophisticated financial crimes out there, and we need systems that can flag that. We need systems that can follow the money. Banks started raising red flags when there was pressure to do so. Remember, with the Guptas, the Financial Intelligence Center has a legislative mandate to identify the proceeds of unlawful crime in terms of the Financial Intelligence Center Act of 2001. And accordingly, they should have robust systems in place to detect exactly these kinds of transactions. But here we are now. This is an institution whose primary role is to protect the integrity of the country's financial system. And they do that by identifying proceeds of crime. They do that by combating money laundering and the financing of terrorism-related work. And they work with law enforcement authorities. But I really, really think that we are being failed by some of these institutions. I don't see how so much money can be in the formal economy. So much money can be transacted. And you and I can just tell from not even looking at the financial statements that this is very suspicious. And yet the estate agents, the banks, the lawyers, all these stakeholders have not flagged anything as suspicious. They've not picked up anything weird, unless they have, and they haven't said anything about it. We need institutions that are going to follow the money. Steinhoff is where it is because we didn't follow the money properly in the beginning. The Gupta money, the laundering schemes, we picked that up too late. I think we need to do better. What do you think of the role of banks, of the role of estate agents, lawyers? Is there anything they can do? The role of the FIC. There have been some successes, yes, but there have been some failures. And I think there are some lessons here that we can learn. Do they even have enough resources and capabilities? I'd like us to have this conversation on the open line this morning because it really does get disappointing. That's why we end up on the grey list, end up being grey listed. Thank goodness we're out of the woods, not completely, but at least we're off the list. But these are the things that lead us there because we just don't have robust systems that help us fight financial crimes and flag when there are proceeds of crime that are transacting in our formal economy. Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. I'd like to hear from estate agents as well. Maybe you work for a bank. Maybe you are a lawyer. How do you guys navigate these things? What kind of how do you zoom in? And what are the limitations? Because maybe it's easy for me to say because I think that you've got a much broader scope. Help me understand what the limitations are from your side. At 10 o'clock, we're going to have a conversation about the role of traditional leaders in our communities with the Minister of COGTA, Velenkosini Hlabisa. What role do you see traditional leaders play in our society today? President Cyril Ramaphosa said during the State of the Nation address this year that government will work with traditional leaders to ensure that they continue with their own work as, and I quote here, natural and indigenous leaders of our people, end quote. I actually remember Clement Manyathela once said that traditional leaders act like tin pot village dictators. They didn't take kindly to that, but I do think we need a serious conversation about the role traditional leaders can play in our communities. What role have they played in the past? Has it worked for us? And what role can they play today in our societies? Because there's issues, of course, with even our constitutional values and principles. Because in a democratic society like ours, which is shaped by constitutional values and modern governance structures, questions continue to arise about the evolving role, even the relevance and accountability of traditional leadership today. So how do we balance customary practices with traditional laws to ensure that governance in traditional communities remains both inclusive and, more importantly, constitutionally sound? That's a conversation I want us to have between 10 and 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock on our World of Work feature, we're going to be talking about ways you can cope with career setbacks and how you can maintain motivation in the midst of those setbacks. 11:30, we do our health and wellness feature. Today we'll be discussing the new HIV injection to be made available in South Africa. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
John, you calling us from Johannesburg. Good morning. Hello,
Morning.
John.
Yes, morning, Clement.
Hi, how are you, man?
Morning, dear listeners. I'm fine today. I'm very, very good. Clement, I would just like to weigh in on this Cameroon issue and the president. First of all, I really, really want to appreciate you guys for bringing this up because this is something that never happens commonly for people to talk about Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Cameroonian citizen. I was born in 82, same time when this guy became president. I'm about 43 years old now. He's still the president. And he was some sort of the deputy president in 1980, 2 years after he became the president. So he's been messing up so many things. He's one of the reasons that I left Cameroon before 2010, and I'm still residing in South Africa just because of him. I'm from the English side. Right now, I can tell you that there is some sort of a civil war in the English section of Cameroon just because of this guy.
Oh,
so this is
scary.
a very big issue that I promise you many Cameroonians appreciate the fact that you guys are talking about this because I think this is the only way that this guy is going to live by us.
What is it about him, though, John? I mean, a 92-year-old. In fact, I've been watching videos of him during the last couple of weeks during campaigning before the actual elections. And you could tell that he's non-existent even in the campaign. You know, it's almost like he has to be held and taken out because people must just see that he is alive. But honestly, this man doesn't have the energy anymore. So what do you think it's about him and Cameroonians who vote for someone that old, or even the party he belongs to, that still puts him up and say, this is the man who must continue to lead until he's 100 years old? And I suspect that maybe it's because there are people around him who know that they are in charge and they just control him.
That is the truth. That is what I was going to say. First of all, it's the people around him. This guy I don't think he even reasons anymore. It's the people around him. And secondly, no one votes for this guy. They just go read that election. Can you believe a national election is taking place and the national television doesn't even show the police station? Nothing. They just come read the results at the end of the day. And then the biggest people that are backing him up is the international community, the France, especially France, who were colonized by France. I think they've got a lot that they're gaining from Cameroon because it's not normal that things like this happen. No one mentions. This guy goes to visit the head of state in France, and there was even a time 2 years back that he couldn't walk up the staircase to meet the president. The president of France had to come down and held him by the hand and put him up.
Yeah.
So what kind of a thing is that?
Yeah, sure. John in Joburg, thank you for calling us. I'm glad to hear from a Cameroonian who has lived during this man's time. And as you hear from John, he's had to escape that. So spare a thought for other Cameroonians who are stuck in Cameroon with this chap who's going to be leading until he is 100 years old. Quite shocking. Let's go to Simon, who's calling us from Randburg. Simon, you work in the banking sector. Good morning.
Morning, Clem. I left the banking sector, but I used to work directly in the anti-money laundering space. And so basically what happens is when a suspicious transaction is flagged on the system, you may not alert the customer, which is called tipping off.
Yeah.
So everything is done in the background. All the reports, the suspicious transactions are reported to the FIC, who will then obviously, if there's credit or merit to the report, they will then ask for further information.
Mm-hmm. After
that, they will then interrogate the transactions in the background. Nobody knows something is happening until at such point that they now have a solid case is only when they decide, you know what, let's invoke the SIU and all the other bodies to play. So even the car dealerships are also required to report suspicious transactions. So it's not true that everything is not happening in the background. So that's why you find it seems like nothing is happening, but actually there's a lot of machinery in the background.
Yeah. So
I just thought I'd clarify that for you.
Thank you for that, Simon. I did find that sometimes, which is why there were serious questions asked to even banks, is that I felt that sometimes the suspicious transactions are flagged when it's a little late. Like now, the criminals have already started moving their funds. They now have offshore accounts. And we act too late, because then when you flag them, now the FIC must do their own investigation, and sometimes that takes long. The question I have, though, is what would make a transaction suspicious? So if you are working in the banking sector, you work in what division did you say you used to work in?
Anti-money laundering.
Anti-money laundering. What qualifies as suspicious? Is it when there's like lots of money is coming in unexplained, or what?
So we use, let me say, when I was there, we used to use this technology that we use that mimics your behavior. So, for example, if you're an ordinary employed person, you work in a permanent role, and suddenly you receive monies outside of your normal transactional behavior, then you'll be flagged. And then that starts the process of investigating, was this money, where did you get it from, and all that stuff. We can see if, for example, you receive rental income and suddenly you receive 100,000 rand cash or an EFT, it flags on the system. And if it is outside of your normal behavior, that's why it becomes a suspicious transaction.
Yeah.
But at no point are you allowed to then tip the client off, or sometimes by investigating the client, you need to do it in the background so that they don't know that you're being investigated.
Yeah. All right.
Otherwise, they start moving the funds. But there is always, these guys are always clever. They do also know the law. They know the thresholds, so they transact below the radar. And they know that if I do this transaction, it's going to be flagged and so forth. And sometimes not every person in the system is honest. So some car dealership will say, pay me cash. And if you pay me cash, I don't have to declare it. You don't have to declare it to anyone. And there are rotten apples in the system.
Yeah, sure. So, Simon, when people use cash, does that make then the work difficult of trying to see the rot and the fraud? Is that how the criminals are doing it now? Because I'm also getting lots of messages of people who say, well, cars are being bought cash these days to avoid Vele. You, Simon, as someone who works in a bank, flagging that.
Yes, definitely. It's most of the companies that do unscrupulous transactions prefer to do it via cash because there's no record of it. And
Sure.
and unfortunately, it is the system. And because there's a lot of corruption and unethical businesses out there, it's not going to end soon.
It's not going to end soon. And that's what's scaring me, Simon. That's really what's scaring me. Thank you so much for your call, Simon. Simon used to work in the banking sector in the anti-money laundering division, just sharing his experience with us. I am just worried that there are millions and millions being transacted. And yes, in some instances, there's cash being paid. You know, that's how these criminals are doing things now. They just buy everything in cash. It's like what I read in the Sunday papers yesterday. The Gauteng Health HOD, the SIU are saying that they picked up that he was busy withdrawing money, cash. Who goes to different ATMs and just withdraws like over R1 million in different transactions? So you take 200,000 here, 300,000 there the next day, next month or next week you do this. And the SIU says this man hasn't been able to explain why that's the case. That was in the reports this past Sunday. Hence I asked, what do you think can be done for us to prevent these criminals from doing what they have been doing? Because as Simon said, they found a way to cheat the system. They know what's the threshold. So what measures do you think we need to prevent criminals from using these proceeds of crime and participating in the formal economy? John, you're calling us from Soweto. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Yeah, Clement, two things. Number one, this SIU business, for me, I don't know. It's like we're using good money to chase after bad money. And in any case, it all depends on proclamation from the president. I've often wondered what happens if the president himself is involved in these acts of corruption. I mean, does he sign a proclamation to self-investigate himself? So in the end, we really need to find a way to prevent all these things, money from, disappearing from our coffers. For me, it seems very self-defeating. I mean, we allow money to leave, then then the president sign a proclamation so we can start going to look after it. And I promise you, Clement, you never get all
And
of
that's
it.
a bit too late by then, John.
Exactly.
I mean, do you think John
exactly.
Hangwani, someone who buys a 53 million rand car, a 70 million rand house, do you think that he's stupid enough to just have those assets? Can you imagine how much money this man has sent offshore accounts?
To Dubai.
To Dubai,
and the other places, Mauritius and so forth. Secondly, Clement, you're asking about banks. Ask about SARS. Nowadays, when you buy a car, SARS form that you fill. So what is that for? Is it that not to alert them that, listen, there's something fishy here? And then why have they? I mean, surely SARS knows something. They can see this guy from nowhere suddenly has got all these billions. So it just looks like they work in silo or they are in cahoots. I don't know. And they are very good when it comes to me and you.
They are. You withdraw 50 rand, John, they come after you.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Clement.
All right, John, in Soweto, thank you so much for your call. It's just so frustrating. Manfred on YouTube says, Clement, banks send alert when minions like us deposit huge sums that are not typically monthly salaries. Banks have to flag politically exposed persons and their relatives for transactions like these. And then Kensani also on YouTube says, Clement, these people are not buying properties in cash. They're using funds that should have been cleared by the bank. Estate agents have commissioned to earn, and source of EFT is not in their scope. There's so many more messages coming through on the WhatsApp line, which we'll get to after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Your calls as well on 011-883-0702. It's 9:30. Smiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Sentencing proceedings continue this morning in the Johannesburg High Court for a former preschool teacher who killed and raped her ex-boyfriend's child. Amberly Hughes was convicted in August for attacking 4-year-old Nadia Jane Chalita. She sexually assaulted and drowned the little girl in a bathtub in 2023. Parliament's Correctional Services Portfolio Committee says it will increase the pressure on the department to stop cell phones and other contraband from being smuggled into prisons. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee says officials collaborating with prisoners must be criminally charged, while inmates must face additional charges. Testifying before Parliament's ad hoc committee into police corruption last week, former Minister Begitsele said that the committee had to investigate prisons where much of the country's violent crimes are being planned. And Hurricane Melissa is set to land in Jamaica as a catastrophic Category 5 storm, which is the strongest to lash the island since record keeping began in 174 years ago. Landslides, fallen trees and numerous power outages have been reported ahead of the storm, with officials in Jamaica cautioning that the cleanup and damage assessment can be very slow and take some time. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling on the N12 West, we've got an accident reported right near Clip-Refer Drive, causing delays coming out of Komara Street. There's also queuing traffic on the N12 East due to another accident near the Reading Interchange, causing those heavy traffic volumes from Komara Street this morning. If you are travelling on the N12 West, we've got some delays between Edenville Road and the Klulis Interchange, while in the opposite direction, an accident has been reported. It's right near Edenville Road, causing delays, and there's still bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N3 North between the Earlands Interchange and the Kilulis Interchange. While travelling on the N3 South coming out of Modderfontein Road, do you expect delays towards the Kilulis Interchange. In Tembisa, those roadworks are still there on the R21 North, right near Olifantsfontein Road. Please be on the lookout there and approach with care. If you can, heading towards the city of Tshwane, please use the N1 North through Midrand instead. And speaking of Midrand, delays on the N1 South between Olifantsfontein Road and Samrand Avenue. I'll have more updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
What, in your opinion, needs to be done immediately by the National Police Commissioner, I suppose, by extension, the Acting Police Minister, to help address this?
To enforce the current law, the Firearms Control Act of 2000, because it has been successful for some time. When it was implemented, it halved deaths from 34 to 18 in 2009. The government is also to tighten control over the legal guns themselves.
Dr. Stanley Maposa is the Executive Director of Gun Free South Africa.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
After a short migration, the family arrives at the Premier Resort, rich in food, drink, and entertainment. The young, freed from classroom captivity, head straight for Kids Club and the safety of the herd. The adult male meanders to the scuba center, while the matriarch basks by the pool.
Book your resort escape to Knysna, East London, Scottborough, or Sunny Pass at premierhotels.co.za.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer, or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand, and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
What do partners of the Gates Foundation do when facing the world's toughest challenges? They keep going. From discovering a plastic drape that helps detect excessive postpartum bleeding faster, to developing better bed nets to kill malaria-carrying mosquitoes, to researching an RSV vaccine that could save hundreds of thousands of children. For every problem, there are people who prove that progress is possible. The Gates Foundation, partners of human potential. Learn more at gatesfoundation.org/keep going.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. This is the 702 open line. I've been asking you this hour about this Cameroonian president, the oldest president in the world. He's 92 years old and he's just won, quote unquote, won elections in Cameroon, an 8th term. He's going to be president until he's 100 years old. I've been asking you, if you from Cameroon, how do you slice what just happened? And what is it about this man that makes him so attractive to the voters, even at that age? By the way, he's never in Cameroon. He spends time in Switzerland. He's always in Europe. Even during campaigning, there were times when he's in Europe because that's like his second home. So who's running Cameroon? And why is he consistently being elected president even when he's almost nowhere to be found? I've got your WhatsApp voice notes coming through on that. I've got more calls responding to the question I asked about the role of banks, the role of estate agents, of lawyers, because I honestly don't think it's possible that people can loot 2 billion rand, to use that example from Tembisa Hospital, and then they transact, they buy houses, they buy cars, and all these transactions are not flagged. Something is weird. Bridget, Chris, I'll come to your calls in a moment. Here are some WhatsApp voice notes that have come on the Cameroonian president.
Good morning, Clement Manyathela and 702 listeners. Regarding the president of Cameroon and many others on the African continent, it's happening because the youth do not take their future into their own hands. Remember, politics determines economics. So whoever is in power determines the economic policy, and that determines the livelihood of the youth and the country. So most of the youth in those countries are either out of the country in Europe trying to look for greener pastures, and they are not participating in the voting. Same here in South Africa. A lot of unemployed people is the youth. And most of the people that do not go to the voting stations is also the youth. So they've delegated the decision to somebody else. Somebody is going to decide on them. So until they wake up to the fact that they need to go out in numbers and vote for the party that is going to make good on their promises, then we'll continue to see these oldies making funny decisions. Thank you.
Good day, Clement. Good day, 702 Landers. Abraham in Florida. Clement, however you look at this matter with the Cameroonian president, you can see that there's no democracy in that country, and it doesn't make any sense for people to keep on voting for someone who's never there in the country, who operates remotely and works like a digital nomad. It's a sad day for Africa, and really, Clement, the people of Cameroon deserve better. They deserve more leadership, and people who are invested in the country and who actually stay. And this is part of the problem that Africa is experiencing, where medical facilities are destroyed, they are not well kept. Whenever the president or the head of the state or ministers get sick, they get to go to Russia and all of these other countries that they believe they can get the best medical assistance.
Yeah.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Yeah, while all of us suffer here, right? The people they serve and vote for them are busy using public hospitals. Money is being looted. Have you seen videos at Tembisa Hospital? How hectic they are? Yeah. And then you've got our presidents who, on this continent, who will leave even hospitals of that kind, and they go and get their treatments where? In Russia, in Europe somewhere. Because they don't care about you. They care about your vote. But you have given them so much power, so many resources that they leave you to deal with what you're dealing with in your home country. And they're busy having a fun, wonderful time in Europe. Chris, you're calling us from Johannesburg. You're a business owner. What do you want to say about this issue of transactions being flagged? What's your experience?
Yes, thank you, Clement. Yeah, so my name is Chris. I am a business owner, and we import and export a lot of IT hardware and software that we distribute in SA and throughout like Africa. So our transactions, I don't think the banks can abdicate their duty to say that they flag suspicious transactions and then just give it through to the FIC, because themselves as well, like we do a lot of payments to our suppliers in, let's say, US dollar, and the banks actually flags it to say, why are you making so many payments going outbound through to a specific supplier base like overseas, like, and they stop the transactions from actually taking place. And we say this is basically regularly payments that we make to this supplier, and they ask you a whole lot of like questions, and they even stop it from actually going through. And at sometimes they even ask us to get South African Reserve Bank approval due to the amount of payments going through.
So how do these other people then get away with it?
So the banks have enabled state capture. They've got very advanced anti-money laundering systems that would flag this stuff, right? So how did so much of millions and billions of South African rands get converted from ZAR into US dollar, euros, and the banks don't stop it? The banks have enabled state capture, and for these funds are leaving. We run a legitimate business, and we know there's so much of red tape that you would actually need to go through to make legitimate forex transactions to suppliers out there. And these people can start up basically like companies yesterday, get millions of rands into their actual bank accounts, and then the bank allows them to transfer all of these funds outbound.
That's what we saw in Tembisa. All those funny companies that were used to loot the money, because there's not one. The SIU said many others who had just started, no experience whatsoever in the services they were rendering, and yet millions are flowing into those accounts. Where have all these institutions been? Bridget, you're calling us from Boksburg. You're an estate agent. What's your experience? Good morning.
Yeah, look, with regard to money laundering, okay, the estate agents has got very stringent policies in place.
Yeah.
For example, I'm with Achiever, and that's in Boksburg. We get trained on a regular basis. We get attorneys coming in to explain to us exactly how it works, and we even get tested on it, on a regular basis. For example, we know that there are fines as much as 10 million rand, which an individual would pay, for being non-compliant. Our admin staff is incredibly strict, okay? And, I mean, I've had one or two cases where, so first of all, if we have a cash transaction, we need to know exactly where the cash is coming from. So clients sometimes get very irritated with us asking all these questions, but fortunately, we explain to them, because of FICA, we need to know exactly where the money's coming from. Is it from a pension fund? We need to know what the source is. So a lot of the estate agents in Boksburg is very strict with regard to these sort of things, and I've got no idea how all these things in the past has happened, but the estate agents are very, very strict.
No, that's good to hear, Bridget, and I'm glad to hear that there are estate agents that are asking the questions, as we may hate it as clients and people that are purchasing homes. That's good to do, because that's where estate agents can pick up if there's any funny business there. Moletsani, you're calling from Centurion. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. I honestly believe that as much as there are some good lawyers and bad lawyers, there are also some good estate agents and bad estate agents. But then, common sense tells me that no estate agent is going to want to be a corruption champion. No lawyer is going to want to lose on their commission, as much as no estate agent is going to want to lose on their commission just by being maybe a good citizen, a whistleblower, when they've seen that there is actually no material benefit to becoming a whistleblower. Say, hey, I'm flagging something. There's something suspicious here. What do you get as far as that is concerned? And then at the end of the day, you still have to pay your school fees. You still have to feed your family. You've lost out on commission, and sometimes you can be ostracized by your industry. For having a big mouth. I'm telling you, Clement, this is a well sophisticated system that I really feel sorry for the estate agents and the lawyers. But for the banks, yeah, they ought to, because banks are highly regulated.
Yeah.
But the estate agents and the lawyers are, Clement, I think we just become just to expect them to fake those.
And that's a big commission. Hey, Moletsani, someone is buying
It
a
is a
70
big
million rand
commission.
home. Are you really going to say, hey, I'm going to report you? Some of them,
Never.
you see.
It's never going to happen, Clement.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Moletsani, in Centurion, thank you for your call. It's just so, it's so frustrating because then, can you imagine the people who have sold homes to these criminals? Like, what's their conscience saying? Like, what are they thinking about when they see what's happening in the news? And maybe they took decisions that we're not going to flag this. Or maybe they didn't even realize that they were dealing with people who have questionable credentials and, questionable issues around where the money is coming from. But as that listener says, people are prone to exploitation, whether you're a lawyer, estate agent, or detectives. Aren't we dealing now with issues where top cops are found to have relationships with these people? Elma, you're in Johannesburg. You're from West Africa. What do you want to say about the Cameroonian president?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Good morning, listeners all over the world. I hope everyone is doing okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Speaking to Elma from West Africa, my point of view concerning the election in Cameroon is just to keep subjugating the people of Cameroon and also surrounding part of Africa. These are the people who are being used by Westerners to keep on taking, because those people don't know what the letters say. Whatever they ask them to sign, they sign, and they keep on looting our resources. Like example now is like Nigeria. The current president of Nigeria was number 4. The person who won the election wasn't given it to. Then number 4 become number 1. Look at the state of Nigeria now; is very worse and horrible. So this is what we are going through in Africa, because we are not the one. They are not the one ruling. There are power forces behind them that keep on wanting Africa to be subjugated, being unrest, being lawlessness, that cause the citizens to leave their own countries. And when they leave, they will become a problem or being attacked wherever they go to. So most countries that have been migrating out of their country is not because of they cannot fend for themselves, but the government have finished them. We in Nigeria is gone. Look at the genocide, look at the killing. It's too much. Lawlessness, kidnapping, organ harvesting. A lot is going on in Nigeria, but the media are not saying about it. Mazen and the kind of issue, Biafran issue is too much. But the UN, US, Britain, everyone is aware of it. They do nothing about the life of people. Christians are massacred. Some videos, when you see them, you will not eat. A woman is being cut off their belly, get the baby out and thrash on the floor. People are being slaughtered on the throat like a goat. It's horrible, Clement. It's too much.
I can hear your frustration, Elma, and understandably so. Understandably so. It's just disappointing what we see from our leaders on the continent. And they claim, some of them fought for democracy in those countries. Some of them fought against imperial forces. And here they are. They are doing in a different way, but the same thing that those imperial forces were doing to the people on this continent. Elma in Joburg, thanks for your call. Yelang, Bonnie, I see your calls. I'll come to them after this.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabota, 1 to 3 p.m.
So where would you say parents could be doing better to really not just help the ecosystem of raising this child, but also help with the teaching, especially because parents are busier now?
Very.
They aren't sitting. If you're lucky, you have an au pair who is fully dedicated, but it's still not you, the parent.
First, you sign a code of conduct
at the school, right? With the school rules for children and how it's going to work, or the policies, how the day runs, the subjects, you do sign and agree that when you come into a school, uphold your commitment. Even if your child's messed up, uphold the commitment. Don't challenge the school on that boundary.
Alison Scott, Executive Principal at Bella Vista School.
702 afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
What you're hearing isn't a traffic accident. It's not panic braking. It's our amazing car-stopping 40th birthday deals. For a limited time only, Auto & General is offering great savings with our 40th birthday Ruby deals. Celebrate with us by visiting autogen.co.za for great personal and business car insurance savings. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. Offer available for a limited time only.
The milk steamer was loud. So loud that Lungi heard hot milk instead of oat milk. It was bad. So bad. The milk didn't really sit right with the lactose intolerant customer. It was bad. So bad. Too bad they didn't have Yoko Counter. With Yoko Printer, orders flow straight to the barista. So good. Yoko Counter. Super simple POS and payments in one. No contracts, no hidden costs.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
8 minutes before 9 o'clock. Yelang, you're calling us from Fendale. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Good morning to you and the listeners. Clement, in regards to Cameroon's re-election of the current president, Paul Biya, look, the reality is things will not change ever in Cameroon because that is the last French colony in Africa, and as we know, France cannot afford to lose a colony like Cameroon because the minerals, all the resources that that country has in abundance are being utilized by the French. So when you look at a situation like this where the election has clearly been rigged, you know, you have to place it at the feet of the country that actually governs Cameroon, and that is France. The reality is the majority of the Anglophone Cameroonians, English-speaking, don't live in Cameroon for those who have the means. They're scattered all over the world, South Africa, Canada, the U.S., and the reality is those people have been persecuted for generations, for decades, and nothing has been done. So this won't change. I think there comes a time in geopolitics where we must just tell the truth, and the truth is Cameroon will never be released by France. So we place this where it belongs, at the feet of France.
Helang in Fendale, thank you for your contribution.
Good morning, 702. Good morning, Clement. The only way we can stop this is, yes, we need to turn ourselves and be whistleblowers, you know, like anonymous whistleblowers, because we're the only ones that can stop this corruption. You know, some of us know of it, but we don't report it. Some of us know how to do it, but we don't report it. So sometimes I think it's in the public's hands, you know, and stop doing corruption ourselves. It's not just the big people, even us. It's also in our hands.
Good morning, Clement. Look, my brother, the problem is not the system. The system in its potential, it has ability to protect and to expose. But remember, the system is operated by people. And if people don't have the country's best interest in their hearts, then they are going to just look after themselves and their pockets, regardless of who is harmed by this frauds. So South Africa's issue has never been a system. It has always been people. Corrupt police, corrupt politicians, corrupt bankers, corrupt financial institutions, just corruption throughout.
Morning, Clement and the team. I used to work for a financial institution and, like you say, banks, insurance companies, estate agents, attorneys, investment companies, dealerships. These are some of the accountable, they used to call them accountable institutions. So if a person comes with a bag full of money, they have to find out, or maybe a transaction. They have to explain where the money is coming from. This is what we used to do when I was working in the bank. So I don't know what went wrong with the banks, really. I do blame them in this Mahangwani story. And the dealership. It's Veronica from Springview. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi there, Clement. Mike here from Morning Hill. I just think maybe it would be a good idea that if transactions like these are discovered, that the estate agents, the bankers, the whole value chain or supply chain that actually helps enable this kind of behavior should be investigated, and they should get away. They shouldn't get away with it. They should get more than just a slap on the wrist. They should be co-conspirators as such, because surely as a person you would recognize a red flag when you see it if you're a professional in any of those industries. I don't know, just a thought.
Hi, Clement. Over here from Randfontein. Clement, this is so simple. The sad part about this whole thing, these estate agents, these auditors, these chartered accountants, I'm sure somewhere, somehow, there's a clause that they sign pertaining to ethics. I'm sure some of them have seen suspicious activities when it comes to the money that they use to buy these houses. These auditors, these chartered accountants that come across such amounts of money. It's all about ethics, Clement. There's nothing more we can say. They are trained, especially the guys Bytes and the numbers. They are trained to spot such things, and they are obliged to report such. So in a sense, they are also complicit in what's going on in the country.
702. Serving the 702 family in 702 land, including those of you in Sasolburg. Sasolburg was established in 1954 to house Sasol employees who were constructing an oil from coal refinery in the area. Due to the country's lack of petroleum resources, the Sasol oil from coal plant became a strategic priority of the apartheid government. In 1980, Sasol was attacked by Umkhonto weSizwe, an event depicted in the 2006 film Catch a Fire. 702. Let's walk the talk across 702 land, including Sasolburg.
Southern Sun's Sunbreaks summer sale is now on until the 31st of October, saving you up to 30% on your summer holiday, with rates starting from 1,145 per room per night, including breakfast. 2 kids stay and eat breakfast for free when sharing with 2 adults. Book and stand a chance to win an amazing Seychelles vacation in partnership with Savannah. Exclusive to frequent guest members. Not a member? Well, you can sign up for free and book now at southernsun.com. Savannah, not for persons under 18. Drink responsibly. T's and C's apply.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Stamino Grow is a 5-in-1 supplement with amino acids, antioxidants, B vitamins, and other essential vitamins and minerals. Stamino Grow helps promote energy, well-being, immune defense, and mental vitality. Stamino Grow, 22 years of supporting Mzansi. ranked amongst the top 5 best performing multivitamin brands in SA. Stamina Grow. Grow for it.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I am Sfiso Zulu. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is currently hearing testimony from a ballistic analyst who was part of the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team. Captain Solomon Modisane, a senior forensic analyst at the South African Police Service Forensic Laboratory in Pretoria, is giving evidence before the Commission today. Modisane was deployed to the Political Killings Task Team in 2018, where he provided forensic analysis support to investigators. He has so far outlined his specific role and responsibilities within the unit.
So I was assigned to assist with the forensic ballistics examination to link politically related killings, and I further later assisted the taxi violence task team, the organized crime in KwaZulu-Natal, and I also assisted any other investigating officer with urgent cases.
Sentencing proceedings continued this morning in the Johannesburg High Court for a former preschool teacher who killed and raped her ex-boyfriend's child. Amberly Hughes was convicted in August for attacking 4-year-old Nada Jane Chalita. She sexually assaulted and drowned the little girl in a bathtub in 2023. On the stand yesterday was a social worker who assessed Hughes. Ntokozo Khumalo was in court.
During her testimony, social worker Johanna Volmorans shared her assessments of Amberly Hughes' mental and emotional state. She noted that Hughes is diagnosed with multiple neurological disorders that gravely affect her mental health. She further determined that she could be healed from the conditions, a statement that alarmed Judge Richard Makabela. Makabela reiterated that Volmorans can only give testimony in her capacity as social worker and not a clinical psychologist. Ntokozo Khumalo, Eyewitness News.
Please be warned, the following story contains details of indecent sexual behavior. Western Cape police say arrests are yet to be made in a case of crime injuria lodged against a volunteer at Eastville Primary School in Mitchell's Plain. It's alleged that the accused exposed herself to pupils and made inappropriate comments about their private parts. The accused is believed to be a member of the school governing body and a volunteer at the school. She is also accused of teaching learners an inappropriate song during sexual education. Western Cape Education Department spokesperson Millicent Merton.
A complaint about a SGB member who also volunteers at the school has been reported and is being investigated. These allegations are very concerning and counselling support will be made available for any affected learners.
And Hurricane Melissa is set to land in Jamaica as a catastrophic Category 5 storm, the strongest to lash the island since record-keeping began 174 years ago. Landslides, fallen trees and numerous power outages were reported ahead of the storm, with officials in Jamaica cautioning that the cleanup and damage assessment will be slow. The storm already has been blamed for 7 deaths in the Caribbean, including 3 in Jamaica, 3 in Haiti and 1 in the Dominican Republic, where another person remains missing. Hours before the storm, the government said that it had done all it can to prepare as it warned of catastrophic damage. Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
There is no infrastructure in the region that can withstand a Category 5. There is going to be damage if there is a Category 5. A Category 5 hurricane will definitely damage roofs. It will definitely compromise infrastructure, even concrete infrastructure. It will scour roads. It will destroy agriculture and vegetation. No doubt it will impact our ports and our airports.
Gold is trading at $3,986.89 an ounce. The rand is at 17.22 to the dollar, 22.99 to the pound, 20.08 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.64 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we still have got heavy delays along the N12 as well as the R24 West. This is between Edenville Road and the Grulies interchange. The R24 East is also backed up due to that accident near the N12 Merge, causing those delays as well. While traveling on the M1 North, we've got some delays. Rather, the M2 West between Heidelberg Road and the Crown interchange. If you're traveling along this route, please be on the lookout there.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is this morning hearing testimony from a ballistic analyst who was part of the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Six minutes after 10 o'clock. Sanbonani Dumelang, good morning. Welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Remember, at 11 o'clock, we're going to do our World of Work feature. We'll be talking today about ways you can cope with career setbacks and how you can maintain motivation in the midst of those setbacks. Because, guys, let's be honest, careers rarely move in straight lines, right? There are highs that fuel our confidence, but there are also lows that test our resilience. And in this challenging economic climate with retrenchments, with restructuring, with slow job growth, slow economic growth, many professionals are finding themselves navigating career setbacks that they didn't plan for. And I'd like to know what your career setback has been and how you've dealt with it. Whether it's a missed promotion, a job loss, maybe it's burnout for you, or maybe you're just simply feeling stuck, because that can leave even the most driven people questioning their worth and direction. These setbacks can be painful, but they can also be a powerful turning point. So, how have you dealt with your career setbacks? That's what I want us to talk about at 11 o'clock. But right now, we start our conversation with the COGTA Minister, Velenkosini Hlabisa.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
And the focus of our conversation is the role of traditional leaders in our communities. What role, and this is a question I am asking you, what role do you see traditional leaders play in today's society? President Cyril Ramaphosa even mentioned them during the State of the Nation address this year. And he said government will work with traditional leaders to ensure that they continue with their own work, right, as natural indigenous leaders of our people. And yes, there have been tensions before between our government and traditional leaders, even between the ANC and traditional leaders. I think it was Clement Manyathela, I said to you earlier, who said traditional leaders sometimes act like tin pot village dictators. And they didn't take kindly to that. But I do think there's a serious conversation that's needed about the role of traditional leaders. What is the role that they have played in the past in our communities? Did that work for communities? And what role can they play today in our societies? And maybe you come from a village where traditional leaders play an important role. What is that role for you? How have they helped shape communities and even the values of those communities, instilling discipline? Because traditional leaders are rooted in centuries-old customs, in community-based authority, and they can continue to play a vital role, not only in local government, but even in conflict resolution, in cultural preservation, in rural development. In fact, government has consistently reaffirmed its commitment to strengthening partnership with traditional leaders. The Deputy President, Paul Biya, has even recently raised the role of traditional leaders in preserving that cultural heritage and called for their active involvement in shaping inclusive governance and even things like infrastructure investment in rural communities. But having said that, in a democratic society like ours, that is shaped by constitutional values, that is shaped by modern governance structures, we need to have a realization that the role of traditional leaders has evolved over time. And we need to talk about the relevance of traditional leaders and the accountability of those traditional leaderships today. So how can we balance customary practices with national laws to ensure that governance in traditional communities remains both inclusive, but more importantly, constitutionally sound? Share your thoughts with us on 011-883-0702. You can send us a WhatsApp as well on 072-702-1702. Minister Hlabisa, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and the listeners of 702, the people of South Africa.
You have made some visits to a few kings around the country recently. How important is it, do you think, for government to strengthen ties with traditional leaders? What role do you see them play in our society today?
Clement, in your introduction, you laid it out very well, the role of the traditional leaders from many decades ago. The traditional institution had been in the forefront in the liberation struggle. The colonial wars were fought by our kings and in some instances by our queens. The traditional institution is an institution that lives amongst people. A democratic dispensation is very good because it is tested on the will of the people, but it's time-bound. Every 5 years, people come and some go, and some come back after 5 years. The traditional leaders in our society are the basic form of government that has evolved over centuries, which needs to be adapted to the latest development in terms of the democratic trends and principles. It should not remain static, but it must evolve without losing its identity and the role it plays as an institution that is embedded amongst the communities.
Do you get a sense that there's an appreciation from those traditional leaders of those democratic trends and principles you speak about? Because I even think about things like the reconstitution of traditional council, because that's been a major issue. There are some councils that are not yet compliant even with gender and democratic requirements. And I wonder what steps then need to be taken to ensure that all councils appreciate this constitutional principle and value and they are actually properly reconstituted and functional.
There is a great appreciation, Clement, in this sense. I have engaged with the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders, which is a national organ that works with the government. The collaboration is very good. And even in the representation of traditional leaders in the municipal councils, there is an outcry that the number is too small and they don't have a right to vote, to influence decisions, which is an indication of the willingness to be part of a democratic system. And they are also even willing to participate at an executive level where council decisions are taken. When it comes to areas where traditional councils have not been constituted, it was a matter of timelines. We are working hardly to get the traditional and Khoisan Act to be passed once again, which will allow the process of the reconstitution of traditional council. But generally, there is a unanimous overview that traditional council must be constituted, and the section in the constitution of the traditional council is something that is being accepted, that women have a role in our communities in traditional council, and we are striving for 50-50 and even more than 50% where it can. But obviously, just to conclude, Clement, when you come to local houses, if amakhosi or traditional leaders are males, definitely at a local house, whether it is a local house or a provincial house, you can't have 50% females, because a person who must go to the local house must be a person who is a traditional leader in the traditional council. That is a dynamic of the challenge when you want representativity at a higher level. But at a basic level, traditional council, 50-50 must be a way to go.
I heard the deputy president recently speak about traditional leaders playing a role even in addressing those social issues, whether it's gender-based violence, crime, substance abuse, you name it. How is your department supporting their participation in these just broadly socioeconomic development?
Let's start with the social ills. The social ills, substance abuse, HIV and AIDS, the issues, the illnesses affecting our communities, especially our youth. Our traditional leaders are in the forefront. Let's talk about the initiation culture. The initiation culture is championed by traditional institutions because it is our culture as African people. You know, Clement, a circumcised male has less chances of being, infected by sexually transmitted illnesses, including HIV and AIDS. That is one role our traditional institutions are playing in ensuring that our males are protected from these social ills affecting our community. And when it comes to our young girls, the initiations like the reed dance is what our traditional leaders are practicing and promoting to ensure that our young South Africa future leaders are given a space to grow free from being affected by these illnesses. Substance abuse. Our traditional institutions are in the forefront in ensuring that in our communities, our youth are actively engaged, not to indulge themselves into substance abuse because it destroys their future. So now they play an important role as custodians of culture, respect, as well as the good behavior in our communities.
And I suppose it's good to see that especially the formalized councils will often support you as government and the measures to try and keep even the young boys who go to the initiation season safe. Because even as we approach the summer initiation season, there are always concerns about the safety of initiates. And often as government, when you put in place measures to prevent unnecessary deaths and to protect the dignity of this cultural practice, sometimes you'd have other traditional leaders who are against that because they think you're trying to modernize what to them is supposed to be this static, sacred cultural practice. How far have you gone in at least convincing? Because I know, when you deal with the some of the traditional organizations, some of them that we've even interviewed sort of get it. They get why it's important to be extra cautious, especially given how many young boys have died. But how do you bring the others also on the table? Because there are still other traditional leaders who are very rigid in their approach when it comes to this cultural practice. They don't see a need why, for instance, the boys must go to a hospital to be circumcised and then go back to the mountains to continue with their cultural activities as they undergo this process. Some are questioning why you would even have doctors come over to the mountains, even when those doctors are circumcised themselves. So how far do you think you've gone as government in bringing the other ones to the table as well? Because where they live, they still allow for initiation schools to be conducted in that manner, and we still see kids dying.
Clement, culture is like religion. A religion is very difficult to change over a short space of time to adapt to current circumstances. But through engagement, even deep religious people who believe certain things should not be touched, when you engage them, you give evidence, they come along. I'm very happy to indicate that our engagement with traditional institutions, our traditional leaders, we have formally established the Forum of Their Majesties in South Africa. All the majesties speak with one voice, that initiation should not be accompanied by death, because for centuries, there are initiation schools with zero death when they practice initiation. In most cases where we experience death of our young boys, it is in illegal schools, or sometimes even in legal schools when ill-experienced people are carrying out this sacred culture. There is a unanimous agreement now that consequence management must be taken against careless people who practice this culture and cause our young boys to die unnecessarily. Because, Clement, when you look closely, it is because of some false beliefs that if you go to initiation 3 weeks before, you must not drink water. And if our young boys do not drink water, they become dehydrated by the time they arrive in the initiation school, because many deaths occurred during the first and second week. And most of the causes is because of dehydration. And we are now in agreement that if a child has some chronic illnesses and is taking some chronic medication, parents must not hide. They must indicate that my child is on chronic medication, and the medication must go to the mountain, because it is what makes a child survive. Because if he dies in the mountain, it will be like he died because of initiation culture, yet the child did not take the medication, which is a chronic medication. We are in a good space now to believe that we live in a different century where some people survive through medication, which was not the case in many centuries ago. I'm very impressed of how our traditional leaders are keeping pace with this fact that the modern trends, the medical doctors, especially those who are circumcised, they must pay a visit to check how the boys in the initiation schools are coping, because prevention is better than cure.
Yeah. Do you get a sense, and I'll go to some WhatsApp and calls in a moment, but Minister, do you get a sense from the conversations you've had with the traditional leaders that there's still fundamentally an interest in serving the people? Because sometimes that's a concern you get from communities where they're subjected to that traditional leadership authority, is that, some of them are just concerned about the benefits. They're concerned about the remuneration. Some of them sign deals and agree to things with big companies, whether it's about exploration in those communities or companies that want to come mine in their communities. They start buying these kings and traditional leaders gifts, and they give them all sorts of things just so that they can have access to the resources in that community. And the conversation has not even happened between the community members and that traditional leadership. What sense are you getting? Because traditional leadership is also about serving. And I wonder sometimes if we still have that across the board. And of course, there are other kings and queens and other traditional leaders that care about the communities they represent, that take seriously the authority that they have. But that's not always the case.
Just 2 weeks ago, I was in the Amampondomise kingdom to meet the king of Amampondomise. Something that struck me is to see what the queen is doing. Is a young queen, very young. I'm not sure whether below 30 in terms of age, but very young. A qualified engineer, and she is producing the coal that we use for braai, and she is supplying all the local garages and the local chain stores, and even exporting abroad. And she has employed 26 young males and females. In most cases, people think kings and queens are people who receive things that come to them. But when you find a young, modern king, as I'm saying, young, very modern, and an engineer by qualification, being hands-on in the production of coal and distributing, creating job opportunities, I was so impressed to see that when she also talked about a number of activities of how she wants to ensure that local economic development, the king of Amampondomise is involved in agriculture, in farming. They are exemplary. So many of our kings are doing the same. Yes, I cannot deny there are isolated instances where you find traditional leaders more concerned about themselves. It doesn't end with traditional leaders. Go even to politicians. Some politicians place the nation as a first priority, but some do not. So now, we shouldn't say it is because they are traditional leaders. It is because they are human beings, like all other human beings, as I have indicated. I've seen so many kings, so many traditional leaders, Amakosi, who are champions of land, coming back or getting back to their people. In many instances where I have forums with traditional leaders, the meeting will not come to an end before the land issue is raised, the local economic development issue is raised, how the rural communities are given better services so as to stop people migrating from rural to areas? How do we make rural areas attractive for people who are living in the informal settlement? Because, Clement, life is not nice. Life is not good in the informal settlement. It is even better in the rural areas, but working places are too far from the rural areas, and a lot of what attract people closer to the town is not in the rural areas. And our traditional leaders are champions of ensuring that development must go to rural areas so that you reverse the migration now to be the migration from informal to rural settlement. I really applaud the traditional leaders for that role.
Mm-hmm. It's now 10:30. We're going to get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. And when we come back, there are some calls coming through on 011-883-0702. Some of our listeners want to join this conversation. Some have got some questions. The WhatsApp line for those questions and inputs as well is 072-702-1702. We're discussing the role of traditional leaders in our communities. What role do you see them play in today's society? Because there is an understanding that traditional leaders can play a role even in the issues we have, the socio-economic issues, but there also needs to be an understanding that we live in a democratic society that is shaped by constitutional values and modern governance structures. So we must appreciate that things evolve. We must have a conversation about their relevance, but also we must talk about the accountability of the traditional leadership today. So how do we balance customary practices with national laws so that we ensure that governance in these traditional communities remains both inclusive and constitutionally sound? If you've got questions for the minister, you've got some contributions, give us a call. Send us a WhatsApp voice note. Sviso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is currently hearing testimony from a ballistic analyst who was part of the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team. Captain Solomon Modisane, a senior forensic analyst of the South African Police Services Forensic Lab in Pretoria, is giving evidence before the Commission this morning. Modisane was deployed to the Political Killings Task Team in 2018, where he provided forensic analysis support to investigators. Parliament's Correctional Services Portfolio Committee says it will increase the pressure on the department to stop cell phones and other contraband from being smuggled into prisons. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee says officials collaborating with prisoners must be criminally charged, while inmates must face additional charges. And a fire has broken out at a building in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, this morning, hours before a press briefing by opposition leaders. The conference, scheduled for 11 o'clock this morning, is expected to bring together parties opposing President Emmerson Mnangagwa's bid for a third term. Prominent critic Ibo Mandaza has raised the alarm on social media in the early hours of this morning, describing the venue as under attack. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling in Bedfordview, specifically Ekurhuleni, there's a huge accident along the R24 East right near the Edenville Road off-ramp. As a result, the road has been closed off to traffic. This accident involves a truck and a pedestrian, so please be on the lookout and try to avoid at all costs. Speaking of the R24, in the west direction, we've got heavy delays approaching the N12 merge, so please be on the lookout there. While traveling on the N3 North, queuing traffic, bumper-to-bumper delays between the Geldenes interchange and the Kirulis interchange. There's also queuing traffic along the N3 North between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu interchange due to roadworks. More roadworks are causing delays along the M1 North between Greyston Drive and Marlborough Drive, and traveling on the N12 West in the Pasonia, Glenvista areas. We still have got that major accident seen near Kliprivier Drive. It is causing heavy traffic volumes coming out of the Reading interchange. If you're heading towards the Southgate Mall or even Deep Kloof, please try to use the M2 West and then turning off at the M1 instead. More updates coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
CIRA is reintroducing printed ink certificates, now available as a paid optional service. You can now request your printed certificate online and collect it at your nearest CIRA branch. This service is in response to industry requests. Remember, your digital certificate remains valid and you can view it online. For more information, please contact 086-1333-850 or info@cira.co.za.
Here at Betway, we're finding every way possible to make sure you can win your next sports bet. With our new Bet Saver feature, you could get your stake back or more on bets with multiple losses. Stand to win, even when your bet misses. Bet Saver, exclusive to Betway. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
Joburg businesses, this is it. The Prime Media Prime Impact Sales Event is here, 3 to 7 November.
Register now and get a free demo commercial revealed live at the event, a tailored campaign for your business, and access to exclusive annual partnerships.
Prime Media is SA's leading media company with the audience reach and products to grow your brand.
Seats are nearly gone. Register today at primeimpact.co.za.
It's happening right now. Swiper by Absa Rewards and 702 could make you win big. All you have to do is shout "Swiped" and lock in up to 25,000 Rand cash. And if you're an active Absa Rewards member, you'll win a 5,000 Rand bonus and go into the draw for a brand new Jayco J5 Vortex plus 3 months of premium car insurance from Absa Insurance. Send hashtag Absa Swiper Rewards to 067 384 0022 and 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa could call you next. Your story matters. Absa. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's available at primemediaplus.com.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
34 minutes before 11 o'clock. I want to go straight to your calls and your WhatsApps now to join this conversation we're having with Velenkosini Hlabisa, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. I've been asking, what role do you see traditional leaders play in today's society? Let's start with you, Semi, who's calling us from Pretoria. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Sure, go ahead.
Clement, for me, I would say traditional leaders don't play any role in a democratic society. All that they are there for is to attract power, to convince the communities that they should vote for certain political parties. That's all that they are there for, especially the ANC, because they're the ones who are mostly in power. That's what the traditional leaders are still here for in our democratic society. Another thing, Clement, is this: they're getting money from the taxpayer. Like the Zulu Chief, for example, is getting more than $50 million per year. But what is their job description exactly, Clement? Because they're getting paid from the national purse, from the public purse. What are their job description exactly, Clement? What are the key performance areas? How do they get to be scorecarded? What happens if they don't deliver? Because they are getting paid from our purse, right? From the taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer, and that's why I'm asking. And if you don't deliver, Clement, you're supposed to be done away with. So in this case, these people are not democratically elected people, Clement. They're getting paid from the taxpayer. The communities where they reside are not developed at all. They migrate to the urban areas to seek job opportunities, right? But they get to paid bills. So Clement, they don't have any role in a democratic society. You can have them. They can have all the gender representation, or they can have 80% women in the traditional councils, but it don't even change anything, Clement. So they must just be done away with. We've got a democratic government that is doing the job, and failing where it's failing. So we don't need these people. They are an apartheid creation. We know that, all of us.
All right, got it. Semi in Pretoria, thank you for your thoughts. I'll get the minister to respond to that. Wezo, you're in Germiston. What do you think?
Yes, how are you, Clement?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Good, thank you, man. Look, where I'm coming from Eastern Cape, the problem there is the villages that maybe 28 to 30 villages where they only depended into one police station. And when the perpetrator, they do whatever they want, because they know police can never come to where they are, because there are no roads, you know. You find the police station, they've got only 2 or 3 vans, you know, for the whole municipality. I'm from Emelahleni in Ladyford, just before Chris Ani region. So my question was, is it possible if the traditional leaders, like his Bonda, can be incorporated into the structures of the police, so that if it's a minor petty crime, can be dealt with in that village, and then if it's a big crime like killing somebody and so on, then it can be taken to authorities like the court and so on.
Okay.
But now these boys, they are doing as they wish, because they know there's no accountability. The local authorities, they can do nothing. They are just waiting on police.
What kind of role do you see them play, Wezo, when you say that maybe incorporate traditional leaders into the work of the police? So maybe, are you saying maybe with petty minor crimes, maybe the traditional leaders can be the ones that come through and they maybe decide what kind of punishment, you know, whoever has committed a crime, a minor crime, gets in the community? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's what I mean. In the olden days, it used to be like that under those Bantu stands. So even if a man stole, for example, a goat or a sheep, we know the punishment for that man. But it was abused, you know, like a corporal punishment in the olden days. But now I think there's a need for them to be brought to these kings to be brought them back. I mean, the local authorities, not the king, just the chiefs and the Izbonda, Induna, and so on.
Yeah.
To be acknowledged as part of the structure in the rural areas, because we've got problems of roads where even a truck or a van will take 3 hours before it arrives, because it cannot.
And that affects the services rendered to that community. Wezo, thank you so much. Minister, let me give you an opportunity to respond to these 2 listeners before I take some more WhatsApp. Semi was asking about, why do we need these traditional leaders when we have a constitution? What's their job description, and how do you even assess whether they are meeting their targets and they are delivering as they are supposed to, because they are being paid for by the state? And then Wezo is talking about the need for traditional leaders to be incorporated into the work of the police, because in the past they used to decide the sanctions, but then, you know, other people will argue that traditional leaders have terrorized other communities in the past, and there's still just that area of concern there. What are your responses to Semi and Wezo?
Thank you very much, Clement. To Semi, Semi made a very incorrect statement when he concluded. He said traditional leaders are a product of apartheid. Myself and yourself, Clement, and the people of South Africa know kings and queens led wars against colonial rule long before apartheid. So it is inaccurate and incorrect to label traditional leaders as a product of apartheid. If we do not communicate truth, our young people will grow knowing misinformation and spread misinformation as correct. I want to end there. Now, he raised one question, Semi, that what is the value of the traditional institution? Let me take an example of, he made reference to the Zulu king. You know, Clement, the young maiden is for decades now who attend the reed ceremony. Those young maiden could have been a heavy cost to the state through being infected if they were practicing sex without condoms. The greatest role the Zulu King played through the rite ceremony, it drastically reduced the infection of young maids, especially by sugar daddies, when it comes to sexually transmitted illnesses. That is beyond than the money he was, the late king, earning if you count the contribution in return. As I indicated, the issue of the initiative practice throughout the 8 provinces in South Africa, those young boys who undergo this culture, the teachings they come back with from the initiation school, graduating from being boys to be men, and with less chances of being infected by HIV and AIDS, plays a crucial role in the reduction of a health bill that could be a burden to the nation, that could be affecting our country in terms of budgeting. Now, culture, a nation without a culture is a nation with no direction. They play an important role in shaping the society in terms of values. This will go to the second question by Wezo. I agree with him. Or let me just finish the one where he said, there are people, Clement, who say, I don't see a need of counselors, they are useless, we don't have services. So now it's a personal view of a person that he feels the traditional institution plays no role, but that view may not necessarily be correct. I completely agree with Wezo from Eastern Cape. In the past, minor cases, which still does happen, when a person stole cattle or goats, some of these issues are resolved by izinduna, izibonda, even when there is a family feud or dispute or family conflict, the traditional institutions still play a role in bringing reconciliation within the families or within the communities. In some cases, there are civil wars in the community where courts of law do not intervene, but traditional institutions intervene and bring peace and save many lives.
Yeah.
I stay in rural areas. I know what I'm talking about.
And then Wezo, did you respond to Wezo's question about traditional leaders incorporated in the SAPS, maybe deciding what sanctions are appropriate when there are minor crimes, and then the police can focus on much bigger crimes?
I responded in a way, Clement, by saying in other communities, that is still happening. Like when there is a civil war between 2 communities, nearby communities. But that is why in many instances you find Amakosi are well educated. And we are working even with the School of Governance to ensure that there are courses provided to Amakosi in terms of the understanding of basic law, how to arbitrate, how to execute or to give a judgment on a minor case that does not require to be served before the magistrate. It is something that we want to involve the traditional houses to ensure that they contribute more in the community stabilities in the areas in which they role.
All right, it's 11 minutes now before 11 o'clock. More calls and WhatsApps after this.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
Morgan Maumela's 52 million rand hypercar. Can you imagine spending 52 million rand on a car? And that actually happened after Babita Deokaran was killed. So can you imagine the psychology of somebody who sees Babita Deokaran being killed and then thinks, I'm going to take all of the money, allegedly, that was looted and spend it on a 52 million rand hypercar. It's just wild.
The Midday Report.
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Mom, Dad, you're not gonna believe this.
What's up, bud?
Luke's family has a kitchen.
Okay.
Like a real one, with knives and a sink for dishes. His mom was just standing there, making food with her hands. There was a fridge full of vegetables, even broccoli.
Not broccoli.
Oh, the horror. Who needs a kitchen? Simply spend 200 Rand or more and you could win Simply Asia for a year. T's and C's apply. Simply Asia, connecting the Thai way.
Calling all golf pros. Hollywood Bets invites you to step onto the green. Tee up, take a swing, and enjoy glorious golf action from electrifying competitions and thrilling live tournaments. Get ready to conquer the fairway and chase epic fortunes. Ready to master the odds and experience your crowning moment? Bet now on all the excitement and prepare to make your hole-in-one shot to sensational success. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
9 minutes before 11 o'clock.
Good morning, Clement. My question is, why is King of Amazulu given more preferential treatment and benefits than other kings? Thank you very much. Peter Maila Machaba from Letswata.
Hi, Clement and the team. With regard to Mahoshi, I think they can play a contributory role, provided that they are provided with education to understand that they are leading people, not their land. Because in some instances, Clement, some of them, they even block certain investment in their own areas by saying that I don't need a mining company in my own land. So, they tend to fail to understand that the mining company should benefit their own people. But instead, they tend to prioritize land than people. David.
Morning, Clement. This is Tori Moore from the Val. Yes, Clement, man. Regarding the issue of initiation, why don't this guy try to upskill these guys when they are there in the mountains? Like an example, if they're going there into the mountain, let's say 4 weeks, they have maybe get someone who can maybe go and teach them welding or teach them plumbing or teach them building something. Because most of them, when they come back, especially in this area of the Val, these guys, they become useless. They don't know nothing. They can't at least match that thing with the skills development. Try to teach these guys skills development, please. Thanks, Clement.
Good morning, Clement. I'll be honest, man. My hometown is Kwakwa, so I'll tell you, if you want a stand to stay or to build a house, and you go to our traditional leader, they give you everywhere, Feto. Where I'm staying right now, I don't have a proper road from my gate to the tar road of Skontil, because our traditional leader apparently gave those people that space to to stay, and apparently it's not legally, because now if you see there are electric lines there, the heavy current electric lines. So the road are closed, man. We are struggling to get in. It's mess.
Thank you very much. Before the minister responds, let me take him Mthandeni, who's calling from Msinga. Mthandeni, what are your thoughts? Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Greetings to you, Mr. And greetings to Mtwanenkosi Bulawayo. I am Dr. Mthandeni Mnyeza, all the way from KZN at Msinga. Firstly, I want to congratulate the minister and his departments for the efforts that he's made under its leadership by ensuring that the traditional leadership role that they fully participate and recognize within the local municipalities. And also, I want to emphasize or remind our South African citizens that we've got different cultures that are fully recognized by the government. Let me make some examples. In KZN, we've got the national event that are used to take place there at Nongoma, or there by that we call it Umhlanga, Umkhosi Umhlanga, where we raise the ladies from the grassroots level, from the different areas of the South African. Remember, all the nations, they used to attend this event. And also, we've got the other event that's there in Watuguza, KZN, where we call I forgot by the name, but Bulawa will remind me. There's also some other events that we used to attend, that attend by the traditional leadership. More examples, from the different cultures. If the departments or the municipalities can play their role to make a good relationship and partnership amongst the traditional leadership, that is where people can be in a position to get the better service delivery. That's all my input.
Got it. Mthandeni, thank you so much for your thoughts. Minister, we've got about a minute left. If you can please respond to the question about why the king of AmaZulu is given preferential treatment and benefits. Why is he being paid more than the others? And then there was a suggestion as well that when the boys are at the mountains, when they're going through circumcision and they're going through the initiation schools, how about you ensure that there's the skills development of sorts, so teach them some skills so that when they come back, at least they've got something?
Thank you very much, Clement. There is enough opportunity to instill or to upskill our youth. When they go to initiation school, it is a once-off in a lifetime for about 4 weeks. It's about culture. It's time to instill culture. As you rightly know, a person gets circumcised, and there is even a way how to sit in order not to cause your private part to bleed. You can't involve him to many activities. I quite agree. Upskilling, there are many years people should be engaged in upskilling, but this 4 week is dedicated on culture, and we should respect that aspect. I fully agree. Our traditional leaders must undergo best quality education so that they can be champions of local economic development. When mining wants to come to an area, they will be able to ask proper questions to the miners, because in most cases, miners do exploit. Lastly, the king of the Zulu nation, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and the government of KwaZulu made a law which make a provision for the salary and the upkeep of the royal houses of the Zulu king. We are now doing the same with all other kings in South Africa so that they are treated the same. When one province did something good, it should not be penalized that others did not do what is good early, but we are trying now to give equality and levels that will be same in terms of salaries and in terms of the upkeep of the royal palaces.
Yeah. Well, Minister, thank you so much for making time for us. We're out of time. I was hoping we can get into the issue of illegal immigrants, but I want us to have you back on the show so that can be part 2 of our conversation. I'll get the producers to arrange that with your team, but I really appreciate you making time to chat to us this morning.
To celebrate 25 years of helping you live the Premier life, FNB Premier is giving you a chance to win a 14-day European tour experience and other cool monthly prizes. Open any FNB Premier account from September to 31 December 2025. Switch your salary, swipe or tap a minimum of 2,000 Rand per month for 3 months straight. Spend and win with FNB Premier. FNB, help changes everything. TCs and competition rules apply. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
So Taryn, you've just graduated cum laude, but nothing says you're a genius quite like selling your car to We Buy Cars.
Absolutely. My car was an 18th birthday present and it's time to move on to something a bit more mature.
So where did you hear about We Buy Cars?
All of my friends are using We Buy Cars. I would have had legit FOMO if I hadn't used them. And it was so quick. I did it on my laptop while sending around my CV.
Smart move, Taryn. Graduated and upgraded. We Buy Cars. Geared for success. Geared for you.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra celebrates its 25th anniversary with its Spring Symphony season, opening with the annual joint performance by the Johannesburg and KZN Philharmonic Orchestras. The season runs from 30 October until 20 November, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. at the Linda Auditorium. Tickets available on Quicket.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The Matlanga Commission of Inquiry has been told of irregularities in the ballistic examinations linked to the murder of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart. This was revealed by Captain Solomon Modisane, a senior forensic analyst at the South African Police Service, who is currently testifying before the Commission. Swart was killed last year in what was a case of mistaken identity after his company exposed irregularities in the awarding of a Transnet tender. Modisane says ballistic tests on the guns linked to his murder were conducted at 2 different forensic laboratories, one in Pretoria, another in Amanzimtoti in KwaZulu-Natal. He says that it is highly irregular for ballistic analysis on the same firearms to be conducted in 2 different laboratories in separate provinces.
I spoke to Warrant Officer Keida about this case because for me it was like bizarre why this case was examined in Pretoria and examined again in KZN. So he said that the IOs were citing some irregularities in the initial tests conducted by FSL Pretoria.
Parliament's Correctional Services Portfolio Committee says it will increase the pressure on the department to stop cell phones and other contraband from being smuggled into prisons. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee says officials collaborating with prisoners must be criminally charged while inmates must face additional charges. Testifying before Parliament's ad hoc committee into police corruption last week, former Minister Bheki Cele said the committee had to probe prisons where much of the country's violent crimes are being planned. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
At a briefing in Parliament yesterday, Correctional Services Chairperson Anthea Ramolobeng says while on recent oversight visits to prisons in the Eastern Cape and Western Cape, officials claimed body scanners and other security measures don't always work properly. Ramolobeng says the department must make its security systems foolproof.
Those who are found with contrabands in correctional facilities, whether officials smuggling, assisting in smuggling, or inmates that are found, they must be criminally charged.
The committee has also requested the department to explore ways of blocking cell phone signal in prisons.
But whilst you don't also affect residentials that are around, equally affect the running of the facility.
Ramolobeng says the committee is also advocating for more unannounced raids in prisons. Between April and September this year, 786 cell phones were discovered in St. Albans Prison in Gqeberha. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Please be warned, the following story contains details of alleged indecent sexual behavior. Western Cape Police say arrests are yet to be made in a case of crime injuria lodged against a volunteer at Eastville Primary School in Mitchells Plain, Cape Town. It's alleged the accused exposed herself to pupils and made inappropriate comments about their private parts. The accused is believed to be a member of the school governing body and a volunteer at the school. She is also accused of teaching learners an inappropriate song during sexual education. Western Cape Education spokesperson Millicent Merton.
A complaint about a SGB member who also volunteers at the school has been reported and is being investigated. These allegations are very concerning and counselling support will be made available for any affected learners.
And opposition leaders in Zimbabwe say they will continue with a press briefing this morning despite the venue being damaged by a fire. The blaze broke out in the early hours of this morning, hours before parties opposing President Emmerson Mnangagwa's bid for a third term gathered. Prominent critic Ibo Mandaza has raised the alarm on social media, describing the fire as a terrorist attack. Gold is trading at $3,908.70 an ounce. The rand is at 17.28 to the dollar, 23 rand exactly to the pound, 20.15 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $64.33 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North. This is between Marlborough Drive and the Buccleuch interchange. That's due to roadworks that are taking place along that route. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling in Mondio Southgate, we've got another accident reported. This one is on the N12 West near the Uncle Charlie's interchange. Delays coming out of Xavier Street.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has been told of irregularities in the ballistic examination linked to the murder of Vereniging engineer Armin Swart.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Time for our World of Work feature.
702.
World of Work.
So, on our World of Work feature today, we are talking about ways you can cope with career setbacks and how you can maintain motivation in the midst of those setbacks. Because careers rarely move in a straight line. Something is always bound to happen, right? There are highs and lows. There are highs that fuel your confidence. You've got lows that test your resilience. And we live in a country and a world with challenging economic climate. You've got retrenchments, restructuring, slow economic growth, jobs not being created enough. I mean, many professionals are finding themselves navigating career setbacks that they didn't plan for. And I would like you to share with us what your career setbacks have been and how have you dealt with that? How have you navigated that? And maybe for you, it's a missed promotion or a job loss, burnout, or maybe you're feeling stuck at work, because that can leave some people, even those who are most driven, questioning their worth and direction. right? So please let me know how you've dealt with career setbacks, because the thing about them is they can also reveal new strengths. Yes, they are painful, but they can also be a powerful turning point. They can force you to redefine your success, to remind you that growth isn't always going to be the way that you imagined it to be. So, have you had a career setback, and how did you manage to keep motivated while facing those challenges? 011 883 0702 is the number to dial. The WhatsApp line is 072 702 1702. Dr. Sharon Munyaka is an organizational psychologist who's going to guide us through this conversation. Thank you for making time for us. Dr. Munyaka, good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to all your listeners.
Let's start with just understanding from a psychological perspective what actually happens to a person's sense of identity and motivation when their career takes an unexpected hit.
So the reality is, for a lot of us, our work is closely tied to who we are. So try and imagine, when you're saying or introducing yourself to people, some people lead with, I am the CEO of this, I am an engineer, I am a chartered accountant. So already that tells you the issue around identity. So now when all of this gets disrupted, it's not just about the job. It's also your identity. And you start saying, so who am I really? Do I have value? What is the direction? But the reality, friends, is that, your identity isn't fixed. Yes, it take a wobble, but you can rebuild. And so that's how the psychological impact shows up for people when it comes to work.
How do we define a career setback, though? Because for some people, the stuff that they experience, they would argue that it's just part of the stuff that you will experience in the workplace. I wouldn't really define that as a setback. Does it always have to be something dramatic, like a job loss? Or can it also include feeling stuck or feeling unfulfilled or uninspired?
So you're absolutely right. It could be outgrowing your role or realizing that what you once thought motivated you no longer does. So we all go through seasons in life. And so there are those quieter forms of disappointment, which can be as powerful. Maybe you were overlooked for a promotion. Maybe you didn't get the acknowledgement that you thought you would get for a project you were busy with. So all of those things kind of chip away. And it's really so powerful because we are different. And because we are different, the impact of these shifts will show up in different ways.
So how common in your experience are these challenges in the current job climate now in South Africa? And would you say that they're becoming more frequent as work environments change?
Absolutely. If you think about, hybrid work, here I am traveling and dialing into your show. So if I am working from home, something happens. Maybe I have a small child, I didn't sleep well, right? That impacts how I work, right? Economic pressure. A slight shift to my income takes a hit and it impacts how things are. So what we're finding is that the workplace has become less predictable than it used to be. And people are having to rethink and reevaluate, so what is stability? And what would success look like? So COVID was also a testing ground for us and our ability to cope with that massive change. So with that discomfort, we're saying to people, okay, what needs to be let go of? What do you need to rebuild? What do you need to be rethinking in terms of the season that you find yourself? So it's actually more common than you actually think.
So it's very easy, of course, for us to say, when you face a career setback, just maintain that motivation. Easier said than done. What are some of the most common emotional responses you see when people face a career disappointment? And whether it's a job loss or there's a missed promotion, as you said, or burnout, someone is feeling stuck, what's the best way for them to respond? I'm hoping you can give them some tools as well, some framework of sorts, so that they know how to keep themselves motivated, how to still be motivated and be encouraged to keep on going?
So, great question. As humans, we go through a range of emotions. That's part of our human experience. So, you can expect anger, you can expect sadness, and sometimes even shame. Because we started off with saying, if my job is tied to my identity and then it's taken away or something shifts, I am going to feel shame. And so it's important to first name it. If we don't name what you're experiencing, it's really difficult to start making a shift. You might actually feel lost or anxious, but emotions are data, right? And what they're telling you is what matters. So running away is not going to help you. So I often say to people, just stop. Just stop and say, what is happening? What am I noticing? So if, for example, you're someone who doesn't struggle with falling asleep, all of a sudden, because of what's going on at work, you wake up several times. That is the data. And what you need to do is confront that. So it could be having a conversation with your line manager. It could be going to your human resources department and saying, what are my options? I didn't get that promotion. What else? Getting feedback. So I didn't perform well. I missed the target. What do I need to do differently? Maybe it's skills that you need to get. What are the options available to me? Yeah. And also, you are not a tree. You can move if it gets too hot in that area you find yourself.
And I know you often talk about emotional agility, how some people can use that concept to manage their emotions after a setback instead of being consumed by them. We'll talk about that after the break. I've got some WhatsApps coming through as well from our listeners who are sharing their own experiences on 072 702 1702, 16 after 11.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to
How
6.
do you, on the one hand, get the benefits of talking continent-wide ideas, because some of the regulatory and logistical stuff would require continent-wide solutions? Is that a problem of systems, or is it a problem of mindset?
When you look at all the recommendations that came out from all the 8 task forces, all of them actually would benefit Africa. Issues of a lack of digital infrastructure in the continent, which will then make it difficult for us to actually usher in the African Continental Free Trade Area.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Kela Nova, the General Manager and Executive Director. Philip Niemann will be in conversation with Bongani Binga. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
Lock into roaring rugby action this season with Hollywood Bets. Bet 50 Rand or more on any Vodacom United Rugby Championship fixture, and you could win a share of 300,000 Rand in cash, betting vouchers or prizes. This includes Smeg bar fridges, macro vouchers, a Sharks captain run, or a player circle experience. Only the toughest team will prevail. Bet now and let the rugby rumble begin.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
When you've looked cancer in the eye, you see the world differently. This Wednesday on the Afternoon Drive with John Perlman, we'll hear how breast cancer survivor and head of outreach at Holy Rosary School, Yvette Bibis, is turning her journey into purpose, helping to raise awareness about the importance of sight and access to reading glasses for those who need them most. It's a powerful story shared in partnership with the Discam Foundation, because caring for the community starts with seeing its needs clearly. Remember, Every swipe of your Discam Better Rewards card supports this and other amazing initiatives across the country. The Discam Foundation, caring for the community. Every swipe counts on 702.
702.
World of Work.
19 minutes after 11 o'clock. What setback have you experienced in your career? How did you manage to keep motivated while you face that? We're discussing how you can cope with career setbacks and how you can maintain motivation in the midst of those setbacks, whether you are feeling stuck at work, whether you missed a promotion, whether there's a job loss, there's burnout, because that's life, right? Things are going to happen, but how do you deal with that? Let's start with your WhatsApps on 072 702 on 702.
Hi, Clement and your guest. Suso here from Soshanguve. I was an auditor before, and because of health reasons, had to leave my job. Well, yeah, I had to leave my job because, yeah, my mental health was deteriorating. But now it's been more than a year after leaving the job, and I'm doing job as a general assistant because the market has no jobs, especially jobs at my level. I was an assistant manager. So I tried looking, for alternate jobs in the accounting field, in financial accounting or management. But now that I'm working in this job, I realized that I miss my passion. Auditing was my passion, and it's something that really doesn't sit well with me. But I'm learning to accept my position right now because there are really no jobs, and I'm learning things now in the business that I'm working in that I wouldn't learn in the audit because it's more practical. And yeah, I think that's the silver lining, but I really miss my passion, and there's a lack of fulfillment without that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank
So
you.
again from Soshanguve.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Anonymous also on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, I changed jobs about 2 years ago. The new job is in line with what I studied, but it's very junior. I now feel stuck. I aspire to be in a senior position, but I just don't know how to make the transition, especially from a junior position. Dr. Munyaka, some advice here for these listeners?
So thank you very much for stepping into courage and actually looking for other opportunities. I think that's the first step towards just doing work differently. So no skills are ever for nothing. Even if you're in a junior position, remember there's a season for everything. So take the learning and say, what is portable from what I learned before? And how do I take this learning into other opportunities? It's also around perspective. You have to look at it as this is part of the journey. What am I needing to refine? Maybe I'm needing to do more resting. I'm needing to clarify my purpose. So use this season to really define who am I and how am I going to do things differently in the future. But keep going. I think it's fantastic that they looked at other options.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there are other people, in fact, many people who feel embarrassed to talk about career failure. And I wonder, Dr. Munyaka, if it's important to at least begin there where you acknowledge what the problem is. Like if you feel, oh, I'm in a junior position, I should be in a senior position, or I regret leaving the other job as an auditor because now I'm stuck in this position, which is also junior, or I missed a promotion. How important is it to acknowledge the situation that you are facing? Does that help in at least getting you to a point where you can deal with that then and find, a framework to be able to respond to that feeling of disappointment or even that feeling of embarrassment or shame?
Absolutely. Acknowledgement is everything. And earlier you spoke about emotional agility. And here it's about noticing your emotions without becoming them. So yes, I may feel that I have failed, but don't take on the identity of I am a failure. It is not you. You feel disappointed because your identity has shifted. You feel disappointment that you're taking on a lower ranking role. So putting distance between taking on an identity helps you. It helps you to respond with perspective rather than reacting impulsively. Because guess what? Your courage in taking on a lower role, which puts bread on the table, is going to empower someone else who might be struggling. So there it's important to name the feeling, take back the control. Yes, I am feeling this right now, but it doesn't define me, because it's all about emotional maturity, and it starts with acknowledgement.
What's the role of gratitude then, and even self-compassion in helping people regain that motivation? Because I find that sometimes the reason things are so difficult for us to deal with them is we think like that is the end of the world. So yes, you may be in a junior position, but you still have a job in a country where millions and millions, over 10 million people are unemployed. And yes, you may not be an auditor or a broadcaster anymore, but you still have opportunities to even work towards getting back to that field. So is it important for us to be grateful even in the moments where we think we have experienced setbacks? Or is that toxic positivity,
Absolutely.
so to speak?
So that's where the acknowledgement piece comes in, because then you have perspective. And when we are grateful and we extend self-compassion, it starts to help us focus on what is still working, because energy follows attention. If I keep beating myself up about how much I failed, I won't have the capacity to update my CV. I won't have the energy to ask for help. But if I reframe and change what I'm saying to myself, that, okay, I am here now, but this is not how the story ends. It gives me the fuel to say, okay, update your CV, start speaking up, let people know what you are good at, and start connecting with networks that could help change your situation. So gratitude for every conversation, for every job opportunity is going to be the currency that supports you to get to your next gig.
And some people are just scared to start over, Dr. Munyaka. You know, there are people whose career paths no longer align with their values or strengths, but they just fear starting over. What advice would you give to someone who is in a situation like that, or someone who just doesn't feel fulfilled anymore by their work? But they're so scared that if I start over, or if I really do go into business, or if I do try this different industry, I'm just not sure what it's going to lead to. So that uncertainty gives them anxiety. So you're stuck with the job that you're no longer fulfilled by, or that no longer serves you or even aligns with your values. But then you're also filled with anxiety because you don't want to go out there and try and do something else because the economic climate is just not conducive.
So data is going to be helpful there. You need data that tells you, I am good at this. I wasn't so great in these particular skills. This is the help that I need. So when you tell yourself the truth, and truth is not only going to come from you because you're scared, you're anxious, look for people you can trust. If you had opportunities to get a performance review done, that's also another helpful data point. And also look at yourself in the mirror. If you were that person who was supposed to have completed certain tasks and you never did, it's time to change. It's time to take accountability, because that's going to help you to actually start to craft a new way from where you've been.
Yeah. And for those that are in a leadership position, what role can they play to support employees that are stuck? How can managers support employees who are demotivated or are struggling after a career disappointment?
So our leaders play a big role within, the space that people find themselves. Having a performance agreement is something that's going to be important. Creating spaces where someone can truthfully come and say, I don't know how to do this anymore. I thank you for this opportunity, but I no longer feel connected to the cause. So create spaces where people can actually have the courage to give honest input. And also extend empathy, because when people feel supported, they can come back more loyal, they can be more creative and more motivated, because maybe there's something going on with their health, Maybe their personal circumstances have shifted. So a leader plays a big role in terms of creating safety for people to speak up.
Got it. And that one mindset shift that you wish every professional could make when it comes to failure or resilience, what would that be?
This is not how the story ends. It's just part of your life journey. So you get the opportunity to write another chapter. Keep going.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming through, Dr. Sharon Monyaka, organizational psychologist. In fact, I've got a message here from Gabro, who says, "Hey, Clement and 702, I just want to appreciate your guest. She's talking a lot of sense and so inspiring and encouraging. I'm one of those people that are frustrated, but she's actually putting more life into my life." Yeah, Gabro, thank you so much for those kind words for Dr. Monyaka, and I hope that you'll come out of that situation a much better person, having learned so much. Thank you for your message. It's 11:30. Bali has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has been told of irregularities in the ballistic examination linked to the murder of Vereniging engineer Ahmed Swart. This was revealed by Captain Solomon Mudisane, a senior forensic analyst with the South African Police Service, who is currently testifying before the Commission. Swart was killed last year in what was a case of mistaken identity after his company exposed irregularities in the awarding of a Transnet tender. Public Protector Koleka Kalega says more needs to be done to ensure whistleblower protection for anti-corruption reforms to be meaningful. These are amongst the issues on the table at the third and final G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group this week. Global leaders are meeting on anti-corruption efforts at the Kruger National Park in Mpumalanga ahead of the Leaders Summit next month. And opposition leaders in Zimbabwe say they will continue with a press briefing today despite the venue being damaged by a fire. The blaze broke out in the early hours of this morning before parties opposing President Emmerson Mnangagwa's bid for a third term had gathered. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
While travelling on the N3 North, we've got heavy traffic volumes between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu Interchange. Roadworks are taking place along that route, and that's the reason for that long backup. And if you're travelling on the N12 West in the Ridgeway area, we've got roadworks taking place right near Uncle Charlie's Interchange. Do expect delays there. There's queuing traffic reported in Devland along the Golden Highway coming out of the N1 exit. Roadworks are taking place along this route, as well as faulty traffic lights right at Union Avenue. And then if you're heading towards Fourways, do expect delays on the N1 North between Malibongo Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive. And if you're traveling in the city of Tshwane, most routes are looking okay, but we've got an accident reported. It's right on Solomon Mahlangu Drive, right near Delmas Road. It's causing heavy traffic volumes. Please be on the lookout there. If you're heading towards Irene or even Erasmus Park, try to use the R21 North through the Flying Saucer Interchange instead. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9. When you discover that your grade 1 child has been bullied to the extent that they're now experiencing hearing difficulties. One mother discovered only after a medical visit that pencil shavings had been forced into her daughter's ears by a classmate.
And I did say to the doctor, is it something that you can medically confirm? And he said yes.
And he did?
Gave us a written report, which the school has got on record.
The school in question is St. Stithians College.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
You can become a victim of a legal problem. Wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Mom, Dad, you're not gonna believe this.
What's up, bud?
Luke's family has a kitchen.
Okay.
Like a real one, with knives and a sink for dishes. His mom was just standing there, making food with her hands. There was a fridge full of vegetables, even broccoli.
Not broccoli.
Oh, the horror. Who needs a kitchen? Simply spend 200 Rand or more and you could win Simply Asia for a year. T's and C's apply. Simply Asia, connecting the Thai way.
Introducing South Africa's most affordable way to get hearing aids. At Specsavers Audiology, you can now get a pair of hearing aids from as little as 599 Rand per month. Hearing clearly shouldn't be a luxury. Enjoy life's moments from 599 Rand per month. Test your hearing today and join the conversation with Specsavers Audiology. T's and C's apply.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Talking of expenses, your trading expenses were up by 4.8% above inflation. I mean, what drove them up in that way?
Some of these are beyond our control. You know, we've got an unfortunate situation that the various municipalities across the length and breadth of South Africa are just gouging retailers and shopping centres. And we've got some areas where we're paying 3 times the amount in rates and taxes that we're actually paying on this base rental.
Sean Summers is the CEO of Pick n Pay.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking, proud sponsor of the ABSA Africa Financial Markets Index 2025. The insights to guide you through Africa's financial landscapes are waiting for you. ABSA is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702.
Health and Wellness.
25 minutes before 12 o'clock, time now for our health and wellness feature. And we're discussing this new HIV infection that will be made available in South Africa. There's been a major new development in the fight against HIV in South Africa. I'm sure you've seen this in the news, a long-acting injectable prevention option that could be a game changer. And this new injection basically offers protection against HIV without the need for a daily pill. Yeah, it's the first of its kind to be approved for prevention on this continent, and South Africa is leading the way after our health regulator, the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, officially gave it the green light earlier this month. So this approval quite significant because it marks a major step forward in public health and HIV prevention, with rollout expected to begin in the 2026 across high incidence districts. We've invited Mia Malano, who's the founder and editor-in-chief of Bekisisa, to speak to us more about this. And Mia joins us now on the line. Mia, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thanks for having me.
Could you please explain to us what this new injection is all about, and how does it differ from the HIV prevention options we've known until now?
Yes, sure. So what we've had in our public health clinics for free for HIV prevention up until now is condoms, of course, but we know that research shows us that many people, or fewer and fewer people, are using condoms. A survey that came out last year showed us that. And we've had a HIV prevention pill, but you have to take it every single day, and people struggle with that. So it's not like a vaccine, it's like medication that you use, and only while you use that medication does it work. And if you use the less and less often that you use it, the less well it works. So if you don't take that pill every single day, you don't have all the protection that it could provide you with. Now, the reason researchers are so excited about lenacapavir, and in short they call it LEN, is that LEN only has to be taken once every 6 months. It's medicine that they call slow-acting medicine. So it takes 6 months to release into your body. That's why you only have to go every 6 months. And they feel if the adherence is easier to do, then people are more likely to use it correctly.
I see. So we are the first African country to approve this drug, if I'm not mistaken. What led to that decision, and what does it say about our capacity to lead on such an HIV innovation?
Yes. That's a great question, Clement, because it has been done really, really fast. And it has been done with help. Our regulator, SAPRA, worked with the European medicines regulator called the European Medicines Agency. They have a special program in which they help with the evaluation of data, because what the regulator does is it looks at all the data of the drug company that makes the drug. And it has to make sure that that data shows that the medicine is safe and that it works the way that the drug maker says it works. So SAPRA was invited to do some of the evaluations with the European Medicines Agency's program. And then after that was done in July, that program approved it. We still needed to do some local stuff here in South Africa. And that SAPRA did in 60 days. That's how they came to the 21st of October when this drug was approved. To give you an idea of how fast it is, with COVID vaccines, SAPRA sped up its processes significantly, but this process was still 10 days faster than the fastest process for a COVID vaccine. So we've got so many things to complain about in South Africa, but SAPRA is something that at least gives us some hope.
So who will be eligible to receive this injection when the rollout begins is it 2026?
Yes, in 2026, we hope to get our first doses that the Global Fund will pay for before the end of the year, and the Health Department has said that it could start as early as February to roll it out in about 10% of clinics in South Africa. So who is eligible? It's actually not described by age, but by weight. So anyone of 35 kilograms and older. Of course, it's if you're having sex, because we only have evidence that lenacapavir will prevent HIV infection through sex. And in our country, if you want to know who needs it, the group which has the highest number of HIV infections in South Africa are women between 15 and 24. If you look at just what proportion of HIV infections, that is 40% of our new infections come from that group, and they only 8% of the population. So that is a group that we really want to focus on. And as we know from other research, young people, because these are young people, don't always see their risk as significant for whether that's HIV or a car accident. They're also less likely to, for instance, wear seatbelts. So we would need to do a lot of work to make them aware of their risk, but research also shows us they're not great with adherence. So a daily pill is something they struggle with. There are other groups that are not bad with a daily pill, and that's why another option of HIV prevention is now great. We won't stop providing the pill because people need choices. But from contraception, we, for instance, know research shows us that the more options you give women for contraception, the more likely they are to take it up. And the most common form of contraception in Africa is an injectable. So from that, researchers hope that people would also be open to being injected for HIV prevention.
And when this is being implemented, is this going to be happening across the high incidence districts in the beginning? Is that where it begins?
Yes, because we will roll it out the Health Department will roll it out in 3 phases. The first phase, we get doses from the Global Fund. They buy it. We buy it with that money, and they actually order it on our behalf in South Africa. Those doses will be used in 22 health districts. We have 52 health districts altogether in South Africa. So in about half of them, but of all our primary healthcare facilities, which are essentially the clinics that you see, only about 10% of them will stock it in the first phase, and it will only be in 6 provinces. Because it's so few doses, we can't sprinkle it all over, because then we will have no impact. We need to be sure that we use it in the places where it's most needed. In 2027, cheaper generics will become available, and the Health Department has already indicated that they will allocate budgets to buying extra doses from 2027 onwards. Our Global Fund doses are not nearly enough to make a huge impact or a huge dent in new infections. But once we can start to add more doses through generics, that will become a faster process.
Yeah. 17 minutes now before 12 o'clock. I've got a few questions coming from our listeners about this new HIV injection that will be made available in South Africa. What are your thoughts on this? I see a lot of you are asking about whether or not this is similar to PrEP. Will you be taking it? What questions do you have about it? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. Maybe you need Mia to clarify something. You can call on, send a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702. It's going up to 15 now before 12.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
We are now off the grey list, and I would argue that based on the very criteria that got us off the grey list, we've probably not done so well to be taken off the grey list. Your thoughts?
I think we have improved. Let's take SAR as an example. It has been rehabilitated to quite an extent in terms of its core mandate and oversight. I think where the weak points are still is in our prosecutorial authorities. We've seen from the Velenkosini Commission, but we're on the right track, I think, in this case, and there has been some progress.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
The Discovery Vitality Chicken Run flavored by Nando's is coming on Saturday, the 8th of November, with a 5-kilometer or 10-kilometer through streets reimagined by Josie My Josie. Find the Discovery Vitality Chicken Run on racepass.com to enter. The Discovery Vitality Chicken Run flavored by Nando's. It's a run for everyone.
To celebrate 25 years of helping you live the Premier life, FNB Premier is giving you a chance to win a 14-day European tour experience and other cool monthly prizes. Open any FNB Premier account from September to 31 December 2025. Switch your salary, swipe or tap a minimum of 2,000 Rand per month for 3 months straight. Spend and win with FNB Premier. FNB, help changes everything. TCs and competition rules apply. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
This week, 702 is in conversation with Auto in General. We'll be talking about Auto in General's events liability insurance. It's the insurance for event managers, organizers, and exhibitors, protecting them if something goes wrong. Whether you're organizing a once-off celebration or a series of events, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. 702 in conversation with Auto in General this Wednesday on 702 with John Pellman. Auto in General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
702.
Health and wellness.
14 before 12 o'clock. Let's go straight to your questions now. Let's start with your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Does the jab have any side effects? And I know it's still very new, but do they foresee any long-term side effects?
All right. Thank you so much for that question. Someone else also wants to know if this drug is similar to PrEP. Mia, you can answer those two, and then I'll ask some more questions later.
Sure. Let me start with the second question, if it's similar to PrEP. So PrEP is just an abbreviation for something called pre-exposure prophylaxis. That's a smart term to say something, you take medication that protects you before exposure. That's why it says pre-exposure, and prophylaxis means protection. So yes, absolutely. Len is part of PrEP. It's a form of PrEP, and we also have a daily pill that is PrEP. Many scientists call that oral PrEP because you take it through your mouth, and many other PrEP options are also likely to become available. Scientists are doing research at the moment to see if a monthly pill will work. There's also an injection. It's not registered. It's registered in South Africa, but not available, that you can take once every 2 months. And there's also research going on to see if lenacapavir, that we now are going to get, that you take once every 6 months, if there is a version that you can take only once a year. So the first question about what are the side effects, the most common side effects that we've seen in clinical trials are normal, a bit of redness around the site of injection or a bit of swelling that goes away, and also little bumps that are called nodules when the medicine is injected, which also generally go away over time, but it's little hard bumps that you sometimes see when the medicine is injected. It's injected under the fat under your skin in your tummy, and long and more serious side effects there's not common serious side effects. The question about what would be the long-term effects, we simply don't really know at the moment because we've only had clinical trials and no country has rolled it out for long enough to see in real life what happens. The only things, a way that we have used lenacapavir before is in the United States. It's, for instance, registered as treatment because it's an antiretroviral drug, an ARV that we hear so much about. That's also used for treatment for people who are already HIV infected, but in a different way from we're using it as prevention. When it's used as treatment, it's used in combination with other drugs as well. For prevention, we only use lenacapavir alone. And on the long term, we're going to have to see how it plays out in real life, but there were no concerning signs in clinical trials so far.
Okay. Another question says, hi, Clement and Mia. Please, can you ask which 6 provinces are part of the initial rollout of this injection?
So yes, I can answer that. I just want to get to my story that says that because I need the list in front of me. So the 6 provinces are the Eastern Cape, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, Northwest, Western Cape. Those are the 6 provinces. Yeah.
Another question says, Clement and Mia, will it only be at government entities or private as well? And if so, what will be the cost?
That is a great question because it's one with a complex answer. So yes, at this stage, it will only be at government facilities because the only doses we will have access to are the ones that the Global Fund will give us. Only in 2027 will we start to buy generics because that's when generics will become available. With regards to the private sector, I have asked Gilead, have you spoken? Do you have a price for the private sector to start off with? They don't yet have a price. They say they are in talks and thinking about it. So it won't yet be available in the private sector. And even in the government sector, we don't know what the price is because the Global Fund is buying it directly from Gilead. They told our health department budget for $60 per year per patient. So in other words, $30 per dose because there would be 2 doses in a year's treatment. That $60 is not what Gilead is asking the Global Fund for it. The difference will be paid by other donors that the Global Fund is working with. So if our health department wanted to buy more doses from Gilead in 2026 before generics are available, they don't have a price yet because they don't know what it will cost. And that is something that really upsets activists, the lack of transparency.
Yeah. Catherine, you're calling us from Centurion. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Oh, just one second there. Catherine, I'll come back to that call. Something seems to be weird with that call. We'll come back to it in a moment. Mia, there is a question here about you spoke about transparency earlier, but the issue of cost is also of great concern. There's been discussion about cost and sustainability. So how feasible is it for South Africa's health system to afford and even sustain this kind of intervention in the long term?
So that's also a great question because there are good and bad parts. So, of course, when our health department looks at whether they can afford something like lenacapavir, the usual thing that they do is they compare it to the cost of the daily pill to see, because that is something they can maintain. So 2 companies, when generics come on board in 2027, 2 companies, generic companies, have been helped by the Gates Foundation and by UnitAid to be able to make lenacapavir for the same cost, in fact a little bit cheaper than the daily pill. So in that sense, yes, it will be affordable. From another sense, modeling studies show us that we would need between 1 and 2 million people per year on it if we want to end AIDS by 2040. Now that's a lot more people than who are on the anti-HIV daily pill. So would we be able to afford that many doses if they sell it at $40 a year, which is more or less what the daily pill costs? Well, we don't know yet. And what we also don't know is there will be 6 generic companies who have been afforded licenses to make the medicine. We don't know if all 6 will come on board, but we do know the more companies there are, the more competition there is, and the lower the price will go. So it is likely that lens price could even be less than $40 a year over a few years. That all is market forces that need to play together. We do know that our health department has said that it will use additional budget to buy generic doses.
Okay, got it. I've got other questions here that I want to get through from some of our listeners. So some people are thinking that you can take this twice yearly injection, and they're thinking it sounds so easy. But how important is adherence going to be? Because I would imagine adherence still matters here. Like, what happens if someone misses their 6-month follow-up injection? And then another question here from Phoenix, who says, hi Clement, will this substitute current treatment for those who are on HIV treatment, or do you have to take it together with your current treatment?
Thank you for those questions. So let me start with the last part. This is not HIV treatment. People who are infected with HIV are on antiretroviral treatment for the rest of their lives, and they usually have to take a combination of at least 3 medicines. Lenacapavir that we're talking now about for HIV prevention are for people who don't have HIV. So people who would use to like medicine to protect themselves from getting infected with HIV. And when you take medicine that way, it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to take it for the rest of your life. You use it for periods of high risk. Maybe you're a university student or a college student and you have many sexual partners. Maybe you're in a relationship at some stage in your life where you're not in a position to negotiate for condom use, or where you're not sure what your partner do but you don't want to leave him. That is what HIV prevention or PrEP medicine is for. When it comes to what if you miss your second dose, if you need a second dose, that is something that's not great, and here's what will happen. So when you start with lenacapavir, you get 2 injections. It's 1 dose, but because it's quite a lot of lenacapavir, it's too much to put into 1 syringe at a time. So you go to the clinic and you'll get 2 jabs. But with those jabs, you will also need to take 4 pills. 2 pills on the day that you get the jabs, and 2 pills after that, the day after that, so that the amount of lenacapavir in your body is high enough within 3 days to immediately protect you. If you miss your second dose, you have up to 26 weeks, so about 6.5 months to go for your second dose. If you go later than that, you will have to take the pills again. If you arrive in time, you only need a second injection. It's important to remember that this is not a vaccine. So it's not something that you get and it works for years and years because it trained your body as, to protect yourself against it. It only works when you take it. That's how it's like contraception. It only works while you take it. So it's important to remember that if you want it to work for you, you do need to turn up for your second dose and third dose.
There's someone who's asking about STIs as well. How will this injection play out when it comes to STIs, seeing that it cannot prevent them?
That is a very important question because this injection can only protect you against HIV. It doesn't protect you against other STIs like gonorrhea, for instance. So you would still, if you want protection against those STIs, you would still need to use a condom.
Mia Milan, you've been great. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Editor-in-Chief of Bekisisa. It's 3 minutes before 12.
Welcome to the brand new days.
Sail the world with Norwegian Cruise Line, with more to see, more to do, and more to enjoy. Plus, upgrade your holiday with NCL's More at Sea for premium beverages, specialty dining, and much more. Think international cruising. Think NCL. For the best deals available, visit ncl.com or contact your travel agent. Restrictions apply.
Welcome to the brand new days.
Why settle for high premiums when you could get a 20% discount on your business insurance? Switch to Outsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your premium. For butcheries, convenience stores, restaurants, pharmacies, and other industries, Outsurance Business Insurance are trusted experts in insuring your business. Get a quick and easy quote to switch and save today. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed, insured, and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Coming up
On the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's popping vandag?
So we got the latest episode in the soap opera of the Madlanga inquiry and the ad hoc committee. So we'll pick up on both of those. Castle Matale, the Deputy Police Minister, is testifying at the ad hoc committee. A ballistics expert is testifying at Madlanga. We'll find out where the country's crime stats are because they're missing in action. Interesting article in Daily Maverick about that. We'll speak to the DA's Helen Ziller about the party's plans to change BEE. They are revealing a big billboard today. And then we'll speak to the ANC's Mahlengi Bengu in response to that. And then we'll get the latest on the suspect arrested for the murder of two Mamelodi cousins. And in a separate story, the two kids killed in a lift in Durban. We'll pick up on that story.
Oh, my goodness. So many killings. So sad. I saw the story in the newspapers of the two ladies who were killed and then just dropped on the side of the road.
And the suspect appearing in court tomorrow on that.
All right, that's what's coming up on the Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Let me thank you for listening to the Tuesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. Remember, tomorrow we're going to be live to you from Westbury. If you live in and around the area, come through and join us for a live broadcast at the Westbury Recreation Center tomorrow. We go live at 9 until 12, but please arrive much earlier. There's been a shooting of these young people in that area. There are two that have been left dead, and the National Police Commissioner has been concerned, and rightly so. So we're going to be in the area discussing matters of gang violence, of drug abuse, and how they affect this community in the heart of Johannesburg, because the calls we got the other day when we were discussing these murders in Westbury were quite shocking, even from people who live in that area, who've explained how they managed to survive. So we'll be live from Westbury tomorrow between 9 and 12. I hope you can join us if you live in and around the area. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard of irregularities in the stick examination linked to the murder of Vereniging engineer Ahmed Swart. This was revealed by Captain Solomon Mudisane, a senior forensic analyst with the South African Police Service, who is currently testifying before that committee.